These are crime movies that never got a fair shot. Wrong timing, poor releases, or bad luck. But today we're fixing that. The Yards is a crime drama about corruption at the Queen's subway yards, where one company uses sabotage to discredit another in order to win city contracts. Leo has just been released from prison and needs a job, so his friend Willie pays him to act as backup during these sabotage runs. One night, things go wrong. Leo is identified and he quickly becomes a liability to the people he is working for. Directed by James Gray, the film is expertly acted and, while not considered his best work, it was worthy of far more support than the roughly $900,000 it earned. The film received moderate reviews and is often considered underrated, holding scores of 64% on Rotten Tomatoes and 58% on Metacritic. It is a gritty drama that definitely deserved better. City of Industry follows four criminals who pull off a successful jewelry store robbery. Skip, played by Stephen Dorff, kills two members of the team and escapes with the jewels, while Roy, played by Harvey Keitel, sets out to track him down and reclaim his share. On the surface, the film is a gritty variation on the caper genre. However, beneath that straightforward setup, the film carries an existential undercurrent. This comes through in Harvey Keitel's performance, which suggests loneliness and quiet melancholy rather than simple revenge. The Way of the Gun opens with two criminals kidnapping a surrogate mother who is carrying the baby of gangster Hale Chidduck and holding her for ransom. Chidduck sends his men after them, forcing the group to flee into Mexico as the pursuit escalates. The film marks the directorial debut of Christopher McQuarrie, previously known for writing The Usual Suspects. He later wrote and directed several Mission Impossible films and worked on Top Gun: Maverick. His brother, a Navy SEAL, assisted with the choreography of the film's action sequences. The Way of the Gun is a film noir with a complex plot and characters who are hard to like. It does not try to make the audience feel comfortable, but once it starts, it keeps moving and pulls you along until the end. One False Move made an impact when it was released, but coming out in the same year as Reservoir Dogs, it was quickly pushed aside and mostly forgotten. The film follows three criminals: Ray, his girlfriend Fantasia, and their partner Pluto. After committing a series of murders in Los Angeles in a single night, they head towards Houston to sell cocaine. But a video recording puts the police on their trail, leading Lieutenant Coyle and Detective John McFeely to Star City, Arkansas. There, they work with local police chief Dale Dixon, who has never dealt with criminals this violent before. The story does not stay on a straight path and avoids easy outcomes. It pays close attention to its characters, including the most brutal ones, and Pluto stands out as especially unsettling. When a retired professional comes back to pursue a personal vendetta, it usually makes for a good crime movie. The Limey fits neatly into that tradition, with Terence Stamp stepping into the role of the anti-hero with calm but steady determination. His voice alone carries much of the character. Stamp plays a former criminal from England whose daughter dies in Los Angeles under unclear circumstances. He travels to the US looking for answers, but when the local crime world violently disrupts his search, it turns into revenge. It was clear from the start this list wouldn't include just one Harvey Keitel film. In Bad Lieutenant, he plays an unnamed police lieutenant whose life is defined by drugs, corruption, and abuse of power. He steals from criminals, uses drugs, builds up gambling debts, and exploits his position on the job. After a nun is raped, the lieutenant investigates the crime. As the case moves forward, he also starts trying to regain some sense of morality after years of destructive behavior. The story itself is straightforward, but the film stays focused on the lieutenant rather than the case. Director Abel Ferrara keeps the camera close to him, showing the contrast between his life at home and the way he behaves on the street. This is definitely not a film for everyone, but if you're watching this video, chances are it's exactly your kind of thing. The Friends of Eddie Coyle is based on the novel by George Five Higgins, stars Robert Mitchum, and is one of the most distinctive crime films of the 1970s. Mitchum plays Eddie Coyle, a small-time arms dealer facing a long prison sentence. To try and reduce it, Eddie agrees to inform on people connected to the Boston underworld. As he passes information along, it becomes clear that he is caught between criminals who do not trust him and law enforcement that sees him as disposable. John Dahl's Red Rock West is a neo-noir story built around a Western setup, mistaken identities, bad decisions, and one of Nicolas Cage's strongest performances. Cage plays Michael, a man who is out of options after a job in Wyoming falls through. He's left with $5, spends it on gas, and heads to the town of Red Rock hoping to find work. When he walks into a bar, he's mistaken for a hitman. With a $5,000 offer on the table, he agrees to kill a man's wife, who turns out to be the wife of the town's sheriff. The real hitman appears later, played by Dennis Hopper. Cage's performance here can bring to mind Wild at Heart, and the film has moments that feel close in spirit to the Coen brothers' Blood Simple. Red Rock West did not even receive a proper theatrical release in the US, and largely went unnoticed at the time, but a later Blu-ray release helped bring renewed attention to it. We'll end the list with The Silent Partner. It's about a bank teller who, expecting a robbery, skims money from a bank deposit, essentially stealing it before the robber can. When the robbery happens and the take is lighter than expected, the robber realizes the teller is the one who has his money, setting off a cat-and-mouse game between a professional criminal and an office worker who has more going on than he first lets on. The teller is played by Elliot Gould, who lets the setup unfold with very little dialogue. The robber is played by Christopher Plummer, determined to get his money back. Their back and forth drives the story, and it's a real gem for those lucky enough to come across it.